a podcast host, an author, a TV personality, a guy with a huge social media following, and an entrepreneur that had a multi 8-figure exit. Today, I talk with John Cerasani. John is awesome, and I can tell you he's the real deal. He's as authentic as they get. He doesn't hold back. His social media is pretty binary. You love him or you hate him, but what I love is either way, you're buying the pay-per-view, right? And he just has a message around betting on yourself. He has a message about, believe in yourself, invest in yourself, and you'll hear that theme throughout. He takes chances. He's very sure of himself because he's proven again and again that he's a winner. And he writes about that in his book. He talks about that on his social media. But what you're going to hear today, too, is a guy who grew up in Schaumburg, Illinois, and just made the most of what he had. This is a fun episode. Enjoy. He is a published author, a TV personality, a podcast host, and an extremely successful entrepreneur who had a deep 8-figure exit. John founded 2000% Raise. It is the title of his latest book and the platform in his quest to help others see the path from corporate America to entrepreneurship. John has over 1 million combined followers on all the various social media outlets and is currently blowing up on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram with his show, The Partner, in addition to his gambling series, Bombshell, Blackjack. And we'll talk about all those. He is a force to be reckoned with, and he's not shy with his opinions. He is the one and only John Cerasani. John, welcome to the ThriveMore podcast.
Hey man, I'm surprised it took us this long to get me on the show. I think he asked me early on, and it just didn't work from a timing perspective. So I'm happy to be here, man. You have I respect you a lot. I respect you a lot. Your producer obviously is a great guy. So let's do this.
Yeah. So John, for the listeners, John and I have done business together in Beamlight Sauna, one of our franchise brands. He's an area partner in that. And then John and I both have the same podcast producer. And also we share a good mutual friend, a guy named Jeff Duden. So, John, I know your story. I've read your book. For those of you watching or listening on Spotify or Apple, you can't see me, but I'm holding up his book, 2000% Raise, and we'll speak to why it's called 2000% Raise. But some of the listeners don't know your story, which is just awesome. Can you talk about your journey? And in your book, you start out with you were working for a big insurance company or mid-sized insurance company. You traded up to a bigger one, but you were an employee and you were doing pretty well at a young age, like relatively speaking, pretty well at a young age. Kind of walk us through what started that whole momentum that got you to 2000% Raise.
No problem, man. I was very fortunate to get into an industry that you could thrive in without necessarily being like the valedictorian of your high school class. And
Sure.
That industry was insurance. I wouldn't have gotten the job I got out of college had I not had a college degree. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in insurance that don't have college degrees. There are a lot of people in insurance that probably don't even have high school degrees. And there's ways to excel in that business, just by working hard, being diligent, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So if you're able to do that and then add like a certain level of intelligence on top of that, which I believe I am above average on, you could really go into an industry and dominate. And, I always laugh with my friends that are like doctors and lawyers. I'm like, hey, I did what you guys did. I probably wouldn't have finished grad school, and I have, they give me a hard time because they're still working their rear ends off and I'm sitting there retired. And, it's funny how that role plays. But what was really fortunate for me, Roger, was that job I was in, what I learned quickly at two different companies over that 6 years I worked for other people, is that the employee at that organization is the product. We're doing consulting, we're doing brokerage, we're doing customer service. We're brokering out other people's products. So what that did was really open the door wide open for me to go start my own company without having to need a massive amount of overhead. Now, I didn't need a bunch of capital to do that. Yeah. And, I just look back at some of the decisions I made, and I'm extremely fortunate that I made them, So I started off working at an insurance wholesaler. They're now part of Cigna Healthcare. Worked there for a few years, but then I left and got a job at Arthur J. Gallagher, which is a big brokerage house. Well, I held Arthur J. Gallagher in very high regard. They're very well respected back then, and they still are now. And when I got there and left working on the wholesale insurance side to work at Gallagher, we thought Gallagher was gods. We all kind of, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I got there and it's like the Wizard of Oz, man. You pull that curtain back. There wasn't anything special going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my 25, 26-year-old self is looking at these guys and hey, these are these 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds that we were so intimidated by. I actually was better off than most of them because I had professional sales training. I was like super into like reading books and studying up on things like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, just doing little things, including working till 6 p.m. on a Friday, getting in at 7 a.m. on a Monday. These guys weren't doing that. It wasn't part of the culture, man. So eventually kind of a light bulb went off because I stopped. I was sick of being frustrated with I started becoming that squeaky wheel. Well, give me this. I should have more opportunities. I'm not even using a support team. I do everything myself. And, they tried. And eventually I kept getting raises and got up to 140 grand, but I was never going to be compensated. And this is back in 2005, what I deserved to be. And I had the epiphany that the longer I stay there, that bigger gap is going to grow in that divisiveness. So
in the tide of the golden handcuffs. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And I had about an $800,000 book of business. I was making 140. The way they did stuff was based on a base salary and bonuses. I think they changed that nowadays, but it wasn't a set percentage of my book of business like a lot of other companies do in that market. And I just kept doing the math. It's like, okay, you're paying me 140. I'm making 800. Okay, where's that other 660 grand going?
Sure.
Oh, well, your assistant, who I never use, it's helping you get business because you have the Gallagher name on the business card. No, it's not. It helps me not get business because you got screwed someone up on their account 20 years ago. Oh, shoot, you work for Gallagher? You know what I mean? That goes both ways. And I'm not picking on them, but that goes both ways. So I'm like, okay, well, let's say I write $2 million by the time I'm 35 or 40. What am I going to be making? 300 grand-ish? Well, where's that 1.7 million going? It's going to a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with servicing the client. It's going to overhead of the organization. It's going to shareholder dividends because they're publicly traded. That's where it's going, man. It's going for money for them to acquire other companies to grow. How does that help me service my client better? What part of that formula says, hey, we're going to do a better job servicing you as the client? So I had that epiphany. I realized it. And decided to go out on my own there. And the challenge was now I have to have clients understand that too. Hey, listen, man, you got some guy with gray hair working on your account and maybe that guy's very successful in life. Maybe he's making $250,000 a year. Okay. But I got to tell you, if he's making $250,000 a year, he's got 20 other accounts your size that he's also working on. Yeah. I'm going to make $250,000 a year. I need to work on like 8 accounts, you know what I mean? Or lower, depending on how big they are, you know what I mean? So it's got, so I knew I had it, bro, but I knew the challenge was going to be getting prospective clients to buy into that.
Yeah,
and I took the leap of faith and I did it and ended up giving myself a 2,000% raise.
I love that. Thus the name of your book and platform. Let's take just a half a step back. You write in your book, 2,000% raise, you have to master and fully understand the basic strategy, not a basic strategy. You were very deliberate around the basic strategy. And there's a blackjack analogy there. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So basic strategy blackjack, it was made by mathematicians in 1956 called the Aberdeen Four. I think there were students at MIT or associate professors there or whatever. A lot of people think the blackjack book, was made by the casinos to make you lose. Wrong. It was made by these guys and it's been challenged by blackjack players. It's been challenged by casinos and everybody's pretty much in agreement that this is the optimal strategy for blackjack. Okay. And, if you go to a casino and you play out in what I call gen pop, general population, all right, you're playing with people that usually don't know how to play it properly. And what basic strategy says is, okay, if you got a 14 or say you got a 12 and the dealer is showing a 5, you're going to stay on that. Well, God, I don't want to stay on a 12. You're nuts. That's just stupid. No, you got to understand basic strategy because you think that dealer is going to bust and you just sit there with your 12. You don't take a chance of busting. Okay. But if you try to explain that to somebody at a Gen Pop table, Roger, if they don't know basic strategy and you say, hey, do you know basic strategy? They're going to answer yes, they know basic strategy, because they think you're like saying something very elementary because of the words themselves, basic strategy. Well, admit to not knowing all basic strategy. Nobody, do you know the basic strategy? This is specific. You don't even understand the question I'm asking you, pal. Okay. And when you work in corporate America and you start asking colleagues around you things like, hey, do you know basic strategy? They think they know, but they don't. Okay. When you're an entrepreneur that's actually studied it and came from the corporate environment to do whatever, maybe it's to be a franchisee, or maybe it's to do what I did, to start a company in the exact same space. Your mind is opened up, Roger, to this whole new world that only you are familiar with, and your old self as a corporate employee didn't even understand existed. Okay. And there's levels to that. So that's the analogy I make it in the book. I'm a blackjack player and I like going to casinos, and I talk a lot about that stuff on my social media as well. But really that analogy, that metaphor, I should say, is exactly what I just described.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. This segment is sponsored by Rockbox Fitness Franchising. Take control of your destiny and join the boutique fitness revolution with Rockbox Fitness. If you're ready to make a real impact in your community and own your own business that empowers people to achieve their best life, then Rockbox is the opportunity you've been looking for. They provide comprehensive support from site selection, upfit, training, and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with confidence and a strong recurring revenue member base. Visit rockboxfitness.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more about this exciting venture in the fast-growing boutique fitness industry. It's time to turn your passion for fitness and for business into a thriving venture. I have an appreciation for, because I spent 25 years in corporate America before I became an entrepreneur. I had that realization a little later than you did. And those damn handcuffs got tighter and tighter and tighter, because your income goes up and stock options and all that stuff. But it's hard to become wealthy, in corporate America. But I have an appreciation for how you spoke also, though, about the importance of when you're young, that learning should trump earning.
Yeah.
You're right about that. Just speak to that if you could a little bit.
Yeah. I have a concept that I call paid training. Look at your job working for someone else as paid training for your future. And it really serves two purposes. It prepares you to go be an entrepreneur, because now you're going to, know what you don't know and understand what you need to learn, instead of just jumping into an industry you know nothing about. All right. Yeah. So learning is more important than earning, even though maybe when you're 24 years old and, the difference between 60 grand and 75 grand seems like life-changing to you. And it is practically in a lot of ways, probably. But in the long run, it's not going to be. So don't take a job to make 12 grand more, or even 15 or 20% more, depending on what your salary level is, if you're sacrificing your learning by taking that job. That's what I'm talking about there. And, there's so many entrepreneurs out there, brother, that Shark Tank ruined. I love Shark Tank, but
Sure.
But it kind of ruined people a little bit too, because you got the Mark Cubans of the world applauding people like, oh, you tried a company and failed. You're living out of your car. Good job. Well, maybe you did learn a lot when you failed and whatever, but it shouldn't be the plan. I think people get a little confused. They go into a company reckless, because if they fail, Mark Cuban's going to tell them it was okay. You know what I mean? It's silly. There's no glory in losing your grandma's inheritance money, dude. Like seriously, Yeah,
there's failing because you're continuing to grow and learn, and you're learning from that failure so you don't repeat the mistake. And then there's just failing, and failing, and we shouldn't celebrate that. Like if you fail along the journey, of course you will. You're learning, but not.
Well, and also to the whole idea of learn before you learn is more important than earning. It's also giving you security. Like for me, forget about it, man. I had 6 years in the insurance industry before I went out on my own. And guess what, man? If I would have fell on my face on my own, I knew I could just transition back into the industry and probably get a damn good job, better than the one I had originally. Cause people are like, oh shit, shoot, he's a go-getter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're building, you're building hardware around yourself with that stuff.
Getting reps. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also, you speak to this, I've heard on your social media, and I'm paraphrasing here, but staying in your lane. You talk about, you've always done the same job. Like, you made, deep 8 figures, and but you said, but I always did the same job. And it's not like I was in the insurance agency and then I went and developed an app for cycling or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're very humble around, I just did the same job. I just did it for myself, and I think social media is not preaching that. They're saying, what do you love? What's your passion? We'll go do that. Well, better have a damn good business plan before you go do your passion,
Dude, every time I hear like some lawyer or like mechanical engineer that wants to go and start like, a fitness program or personal training company, it's like, all right, dude, but you're literally making 180 grand right now and you're 29. You're doing pretty well, pal. You sure you want to do this? Yep. No, my passion is personal training. Okay, well, start off by just doing the math, please. Like if you build your lifestyle now around making 180, you bet, I'm going to get investors. No one's going to invest in that, dude. Like no one's going to give you invest money so you can still keep your salary, and like it's not going to happen.
No.
So I think people like that aren't entrepreneurs are a little clueless sometimes. And I got to tell you, man, that's why, I don't want to bring it back to this. I brought it up twice now, but that's why franchisors, are such a asset to people that have that entrepreneurial spirit that just don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? And, I think there's some people that in the franchising space don't, think it's very, some people don't want to do it because for other reasons, but like, if you're a W-2 employee and this is your boss, you don't control your destiny. You don't control your future. You know what I mean? Now, as a franchisee, yeah, there are going to be certain conditions in the market where maybe you don't have complete control. That's going to happen as an independent entrepreneur too. I got news for you. I got 100%. News for you.
Yeah.
So the biggest, stranglehold is definitely just as a regular W-2 employee. You could show up to work tomorrow as a W-2 employee and find out you have and not have a job. Well, no, they can't do that. Yeah, they can.
They can.
You know what I mean? Well, now, if you're over 50 or you're a person of color or something, maybe it'll be a little bit difficult. But even then, buddy, you're an at-will employee. Understand that you're an at-will employee. Okay, that means we could change your comp formula tomorrow, and if you don't like it, you're welcome to leave. Okay.
Yeah. I would love for you to speak on this too, because. And it's funny. You have this braggadocio in your book, and then this balance of being very humble, right? And you said, man, I was deep into my business, not even understanding the asset I was sitting on. I understood the earning potential and what I would make every year, which was way more than in corporate America. But it was later in your journey that you had this epiphany. Oh my God, I'm sitting on a pile of money here in the value of my book of business and all that. Can you take that and just share with the audience the importance of understanding that, like enterprise value, but also you made a lot of money by continuing to bet on yourself and the company that acquired you with your rollback or carry, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just talk to that so the listeners can understand the value of kind of staying in it even after you sell it.
So I was an S Corp, and my EBITDA, which you probably have a pretty wide range of audience. EBITDA is, in this context, and it's just simply me seeing what my net profit is. How much was my company making? Profiting, not gross revenue. Gross revenue minus expenses is, it's a little more complicated than that. But the EBITDA is what, I'm paying myself basically. Okay. And I owned 100% of the company. So it was all going to me at the end of the year. I was not leaving money in the company, and there was no need to. Okay. So I knew I was making a boatload of money. I knew that money coming in. I knew it was difficult to spend that much on personal stuff or whatever. So I kind of started changing my little outlook at life. And I decided, I'm going to try to retire by the time I'm 40. And in order to do that, I came up with the number $10 million in my head. For some reason, I just said, hey, if I have $10 million, I could retire when I'm 40. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but that's the plan. Okay. And then I could just live off that 10 million, make 4 to 6% each year, cover inflation, live off, $500,000. Boom, we're set for life. Have money at the end of it to even hand down to my kids. You know what I mean? And, as I'm trekking through my 30s, and I have a whole spreadsheet and everything going back to, way back, what my net worth was each year. And I'm seeing it go up. And it's going up substantially now each year. You know what I mean? Because that EBITDA was such a big number. Well, it was still going to be very difficult, even though I'm making literally millions of dollars a year. Okay. It was still going to be difficult to hit that 10 million mark by the time I'm 40. I was eyeballing it. I go, am I even going to? Because Uncle Sam takes a lot of that money. You got to understand.
Yes, he does.
Okay? So, and then plus, it's very difficult not to change your lifestyle. Once you know that money's coming, if I never change my lifestyle, I want to hit it. But then when I was 37 years old, private equity backed competitor called me. And they had already entered the space, but I wasn't paying attention to it because I knew my profitability was so high. I ain't selling this company. Well, I find out that the model had changed from what I thought it was. It had previously been 1.5 to 2 times gross revenue and what they'd buy your company for. Well, if you're operating in a very large profit margin, which I was, and I ain't selling it for 1.5 to 2 times gross, I'll just ride this thing out. It'll take what I'd make in that, a few years, like what that's worth. I'll just not show up to work. It'll take that long for my clients to fire me, probably, to be honest with you. I ain't on this. So, which I would never do that to my clients, by the way, but it's just reality. And private equity entered the space and they changed the game. They started buying companies, or they started recognizing that they're super profitable companies like mine, and there's ones with way smaller margins. So why would the me's of the world ever sell? Yeah, you guys figured it out. You're right. So I find out that they're buying companies from a multiple of their EBITDA, a multiple of those profits. And it was a bigger multiple, close to the, low, I can't be specific, but call it high single digits to low double digits, let's say. Okay. They call me up. I agreed to have dinner with this guy only because he was so persistently calling me. And then he said to me, well, hey man, you got to eat. Let me just sit down and talk to you while you're eating your dinner. I'm buying. And
that's a good line, actually. You got to eat. That's a good line. Yeah.
I've only freaking did it because I used that line too. Something very similar to that. I say to prospective clients, I'm like, all right, I'll do that. If we go to Mastro's, then I pick the nicest steakhouse in Chicago. It's only because they're going to call me all the time. Anyway, this is 2014. We started the conversations. And so in Chicago, people from Mastro's isn't the nicest. 2014 it was. Relax. I'm 37 years old, man. And, actually 36 at that time because my birthday was in December of 2014. So yeah, it would have been, 2014, well, I guess that would have been 30, 25, I guess it doesn't matter. But 38, I don't even know. 37
you were still young. You were still young, man.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, and I'm looking at the guy. I think he's got 2 freaking heads. He presents it to me what they're purchasing it for, and I'm like, this is crazy. There's no way he's going to do this. He thinks my margins are probably 20%. He doesn't know anything about my company. He probably just asked around from me. He's guessing. There's no way they're giving me this much money. Well, sure enough, the conversations moved forward, and there was a couple of things that I thought maybe were gotchas. They call it a letter of intent, and LOI gets sent to me with how they want to purchase my company and what the price is going to be. But then came the gotchas in the paragraphs. All right. First gotcha was that you got to take part of the deal in step. Okay. And I could take, we settled on a certain percent. Mm-hmm. I was on the higher range of the percent that we had to take because there was a minimum that was like 10%. I took a lot more than that. And the reason I took a lot more than that was because the other gotcha was that I had to work there for 5 years under an employment contract. Okay, well, we get to negotiate what that salary looks like, but it's going to look pretty much like market for a W-2 employee, and it ain't going to be consistent with what I'm used to making.
Sure.
So I'm like, if I'm going to work here for 5 years, I better have more skin in the game than that, because there's going to be a long 5 years if I literally don't care. So
Yeah.
I took a higher percentage of stock on the deal than was normal. Okay.
Yeah.
It was still under 50%. I still made it. So I'm going to be set up pretty nicely. And as long as that stock didn't go down, I'm never going to have to work again. And I should be out of this thing by the time I'm 42. Okay. Well, the stock ends up doing something different. The stock, April 30th of 2015 is when I sold the company. Now I'm employed with this private equity backed competitor. They're backed by a company called, what were they called back then? Because they switched a couple of times.
Sun something, I think you said.
No, it was either I think Kohlberg, Kelso or Kohlberg. Those are the two that were involved. I can't remember which one was first, but that private equity firm sells the stock, or excuse me, sells our whole entire company that now I'm a part of to another private equity firm 2 months after I'm there. Now, operationally, this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really matter. Operationally, we're still the same company we were. My little company is now part of it. Here we go. But our backing with the private equity companies, it don't matter. What matters for shareholders. And I had taken, I'll just say it. I've said it before, so I think I'm allowed to. I took 35% of my deal in stock. Well, because of that, we called it an event. Because of that event and the transition from one private equity firm to the other, the stock tripled.
Yeah.
So now my 35% minimum was now worth 105%, Roger. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there's other people that were also part of things, but they might've got purchased 5 years earlier. They were waiting. This private equity firm been in there for 7 years. So everyone's running that around the office, high-fiving each other with, I think 50 offices around the country. Everyone's going nuts. That's involved. There's a stockholders call, and I'm trying to understand what the heck just happened. This is crazy. Okay. Well, now it's explained to us that we have 30 days from that day to the next 30 days to liquidate up to 50% of our shares. Everyone else at the organization that's shareholders, again, no one's only been waiting 2 months like me. The rest of them have been waiting a while. They're all liquidating. They're all taking money off the table. They're running around paying off mortgages. They weren't in the same financial position as me. Number one, because they didn't have as high of a profit margin when they sold, but also number two, they had 7 or 8 partners. I didn't have any partners. Okay. Yep. So I'm wondering why the heck everyone's going crazy like this. And then it's now looking back, I realize it's because no one was in the same financial position I was in on this deal. Maybe 1 or 2 guys, but not very much. Okay. Well, I decided to leave it all in. My accountant and my lawyer told me I'm nuts. I decided to leave all the money in there and roll it. Yeah. In the equivalent of stock. And, that was the move, Roger, that really made the distinction, because at the 4.5 year mark, that private equity firm now sold to a third one. I have 2 exits in the same burnout period. Yeah. Combined with me selling my company. I basically sold the company 3 times. That binary, and then it basically about, it's not exactly triple, but around there. Yeah. So 35% turned into 105%, turned to 315%. And remind you that, and that's 315% plus the original balance of the 100%, which is 65%. Now the deal is worth 380% of what I still thought I was selling the company for. Wow. And that just, I don't know if I never explained it that way before. I don't know if you check the math on that, but 3 to 4 times roughly. Yeah. What I was selling the company for. I mean,
to summarize, if I heard you correctly, you sell it for X dollars, and 5 years later, it's worth 4X.
Exactly.
Cash out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I'm trying to think of because it was 35 turning to 315. And then you have the original 100% on top of that, right? I think, I don't know. It's around there. Yeah, it would be 380% if I don't know if I'm looking at it the right way, but either way, it was way more money than I thought I was going to get. And I was set to retire anyway. Yeah. That's why I sold. When I sold it, I'm like, dude, I'm only 37. I'm not going to sit here and, burn my, it's interesting. My mom had just passed away earlier, right around that same time, right before I got this offer. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at my 2 kids, and I'm like, dude, who are you, bro? You're some dude from Schaumburg. you're 37 and they're giving you 8 figures and you never have to work again, and remind you that 9.5 years earlier, you were like reluctantly quitting a job, making 140 grand a year, hoping to make 200 or 300 grand one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's a crazy position. So
Yeah.
I looked at it like bird in the hand worth more than two in the bush. And, you know, it ended up working out really well for me because of that stock performance.
Well, yeah. And we won't, it goes without saying, you also worked your butt off and
Yeah.
outperformed competitors. Like, you know, yeah, the stock tripled but you got in that position because of the work you put in. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. Well, and also, and then in my book, by the way, 2000% raise, it's motivational from that standpoint, like of what I just said. But I believe the real meat and potatoes of that book is how I grew the company to compete in the industry filled with $1 billion companies that have been around for 100 years. What did I do to make myself different than them and get clients in that middle market to come with us? Because I got to tell you, most of these clients, you know, you brought up Beam earlier, whatever Cynthia's company was before Beam, before she became part of a bigger organization, most insurance brokers that are independent, those are the types of clients that they're getting, and God bless them. They're just not big insurance clients when you have 3 employees and, you know, whatever. I wanted to stay in that middle market, and everyone told me there's no chance, no bigger 500 to 1,000 employee group is going to hire somebody like you. They're going to want to work with Aon or Willis or Gallagher. They're not going to work with an independent guy. And I proved that wrong. And because of reasons is why a lot of people never jump out to go, because they don't want to work on the hair salons and nail shops. They want to work on the bigger accounts, primarily because that's where the money's at. And it's just, it becomes more paper pushing at that lower level.
Yeah. Yeah. So now so now you got the cash, you've done it, and you decide from what I can tell from the outside looking in, you decide to start building your personal brand aggressively.
Yep.
Like you didn't do business halfway. You went all in on that.
Yeah.
Proving it by rolling your stock. You'll bet on yourself. And now you start building this personal brand. Why?
So I first got into the venture. So I first started messing around with Instagram and social media with personal brand building because I was doing venture capital stuff. I was throwing around a bunch of money in like 2020 into like, you know, startups and stuff like that. And I look back now and kind of laugh at myself as stupid. It was a low interest rate environment. I could borrow money against myself from my wealth management account for like less than 1%. So like, you need a couple $100 grand. Let me throw it in this. Let me throw it in that. You know, it's an idiot. Like I should not have done a lot of the things I did with that. But what I will say is it put me in the realm with some pretty high profile people, many of which are celebrities, athletes, actors. Also, like I'm friends with a couple of people that own NFL sports teams. I'm friends with the person that owns a very, very successful liquor company that you would definitely be aware of. And it just put me in these right rooms, and it made me kind of take a step back and okay, wait, how did I get here? Because when I was in those rooms, Roger, his work really hit. Okay. I was out, I'll name drop a little bit here, but I'm out when it was Zac Efron, the actor. And he was as excited to meet me because of the people that told him I was coming as I was to meet him. And not because he was going to take a picture with me and send it to his kids like I was doing with him. Okay.
Sure.
I don't think he has any kids. But what was interesting is when I told him the story of what I just told you, like it was super interesting. And when I told him my age and when I was retired, it was like very, very interesting. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Like I got people that are pretty freaking high profile. I think of this as a cool story. I'm gonna write a book about it, and that's what I did with 2000% raise. And my whole personal brand building was really initially, Roger, to promote that book. That's why I started doing all this stuff on social media. I was trying to get attention around this book, and then it took off. And who would have thought that just being yourself and speaking your mind and it was once I stopped using editors, once I stopped being rehearsed, and once I just started picking up the phone and talking into it and walking around my house, a lot of people that won't work for. It works for me. People are like, dude, this guy's real, dude. He's like just whatever's on his mind and not holding back. It was then.
Go ahead,
bro,
please.
It was then when I stopped hiring editors to like put all these graphics in this stuff. A lot of times that's what plays well on social media. But for me, it really worked the opposite way. And I think it's an anomaly. I don't know if I'd recommend that to everybody, but for me, it worked.
So I've been wanting to, because we haven't talked since we did business together, and just
Yeah.
like through email and stuff. But I've watched you just explode
Yeah.
on social media, and I'm trying to figure out if it truly is fully just genuine you being you. But I also know how damn smart you are, and you have got the algorithm working for you, brother. Like, you have got the algorithm work, because you get the people who want to be like you and sit in high limit and not in even the fact that you're using the term gen pop, which means general population for those listening, meaning the average person. And then you're getting the haters that are like, this guy's driving me crazy, but they're buying the pay-per-view, right? Love me, hate me, buy the pay-per-view. And you seem to do that really damn well, man. Like, really well.
There was one video well, two videos that really, I think, were differentiators for me. Okay. The first one was when I was in Cabo San Lucas, and I just grabbed my phone and I was like feeling myself one morning. I had all these friends coming, a couple of my celebrity friends were coming in from LA. My friends from where I grew up were there. We had this villa that I got. These people didn't even know each other, but everyone thought it was fucking cool. Or I'm sorry, they thought it was cool that we were all going to hang out. Jaleel, if you know who Jaleel White is, he played Urkel on Family Matters. He's one of my friends in LA. Like, who would think you're friends with Urkel, right?
Yeah.
But he's one of my buddies, and he was coming. I think my friends in Chicago thought that was kind of cool. They're gonna hang out with him. You know what I mean? This is all kind of coming together. And I was sitting in the damn hot tub, bro. And my Instagram reels and TikToks before that day were always like, okay, here's how you maximize your profits for EBITDA before you look at selling to a private equity firm, and, really good stuff, or say, hey, here's pitfalls of working for corporate America. Like, if you're an at-will employee, screw that, man, go work for yourself, stuff like that. And it was fine. It was a little bit edgy, but it was that one in that villa, man. It was so real. I was in the hot tub. I just grabbed my phone and I'm like, what if I would have listened to everybody telling me I can't do this stuff? What if I would have listened to everybody tell me I'm an idiot to quit my job? Because all I did was the same job, just with myself on top of the org chart. Thank God I didn't listen to all these people telling me not to go down that path. And it hit, bro. I almost didn't even post it. I honestly, I posted it, and I was going to go back 5 minutes later and probably take it down. While I was yelling in the damn hot tub at 6:15 in the morning, I woke up one of my buddies from another room. He goes, what is going on out here? And then we started drinking Bloody Marys, okay? And I forget. I go, oh, shoot. 40 minutes later, I go to check on the damn thing, and it had gone literally viral, all right? It went nuts, bro. It went nuts. And the comments were great. And it was one of those moments, Roger, and anybody that's had social media success, you'll feel it when it happens, because the comments totally changed. It was no longer people just chiming in, agreeing or disagreeing. It was people being like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. You're the GOAT. Holy cow, legend in the making, like stuff like that, complete strangers, man. And, that one really, really played a role. And it wasn't like some master plan of mine. That, it really wasn't. So that video, and then about a year after that, I had not done any stuff with gambling at this point. I'm in a casino in Vegas at the Venetian. And my girlfriend at the time wanted to play like $25 per hand. Okay. And I play a lot more than that up in the high limit room. So we go out to the regular casino floor so she could play $25 a hand. You can't play that little there. And they have rules in what I call general population that they don't have in high limit, bro. Okay. Like, the rules of Blackjack are different. They actually changed the rules for lower limit players. And I'm sitting there watching her play, and I'm getting mad. I'm like, dude, there's no way you could win. So I would, and I had tried a few drinks. I mean, I walk away, and you see her in the background playing. And I just went off into the phone. And this one is actually what you were saying with the getting the controversy. It's probably when I first started getting haters after this one, because it came out of my mouth. I didn't mean it this way, but it still came out. And I go, I'm in general population gambling with the peasants. That offended a lot of people. Okay. Now, I don't look at people that way, though, and I don't speak like that. When my meaning of that was, they're treating you like a peasant because you're accepting it. they're not paying you full odds on blackjack. They're paying you 6-5 instead of 3-2, dude.
Yep.
There's no reason for a casino to treat you that way, but that's what they're doing. They're not ever doing new decks. They're literally trying to take as much money as fast as they can. They take the damn cards and put it into a machine and recirculate the cards on an ongoing basis. So you don't even know where these cards are coming from. You might get 12 aces in a row, dude. You have no idea. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And there's no break. When you play blackjack and it's going bad, the shoe is going to end it sometime, not in general population.
No.
So I like literally make all those points and I'm going off and I just crack the phone and I go, there is no way you can win. Oh. And then I looked at my phone and just went to bed because, like I said, we had a few drinks and it was late. And I woke up the next morning like, oh, it went off.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. And then after that, the ones that have gotten bigger after, there's been a couple kind of like that. Some people just don't like me no matter what I say, but there was a couple.
Okay. But that's okay, right? As long as you watch.
Yeah.
As long as you watch.
Exactly. But I'm going to tell you what, the ones like that though, are the ones that got me not giving a heck and me kind of pissing on corporate America. You know, a lot of W-2 employees get offended thinking I'm pissing on them. No, I'm pissing on your employer, not you, buddy. Yeah. Listen close. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's gotten like celebrities to start following me. You know, there's a pretty famous comedian named Bert Kreischer, Nick Cannon, Jimmy Kimmel. Like I got some pretty big name. A lot of athletes follow me. And Bert invited me to this celebrity blackjack tournament that he was having. We only know each other off of Instagram, bro. He invited me to the celebrity blackjack tournament. I thought he was inviting me as like a spectator to watch, and he was inviting me as one of the celebrities. And this thing ended up being like featured on Entertainment Tonight, Barstool Sports blasted in. So I think that the time your buddy Jeff Duden that we both know, I think that's when like a lot of people like took a double take because that was last February. I was like literally all over social media at that point. And I think there were some people that had kind of been with me from before that I already knew and saw this as like, oh God, the rest of the world just found out. This is pretty cool. That particular weekend when that circulated, I got a lot of well, Travis Kelce's brother, Jason Kelce, was there, and he was right next to me, and me and him were hanging out. So it was the Super Bowl weekend. So he was the talk of the town because his brother's playing in the damn game, but he's also getting ready to announce his retirement. You know what I mean? Yeah. And me and him are next to each other the whole damn time. So, you know, I think being put in those rooms helped the social media a lot. Yeah. And if I wasn't doing stupid crap in the first place, Roger, like mistakenly, not meaning in the bad way, but calling people in gym pop peasants and hitting that algorithm, the Bert Kreischers of the world probably never come across me. And then definitely not getting invited to any celebrity blackjack tournaments where I'm in rooms like that. You know what I mean? So I think you need a little bit of luck, but you also got to have something people like, you know, people ask me all the time, how do you do this stuff? I want to go viral. What should I do? It's like, I don't know, man. You got to just be interesting, man. I didn't really plan this.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you try to go viral, you won't. That's assured. That's assured. Like it's always some fluke thing that connects. This segment is sponsored by Beamlight Sauna Franchising. Are you looking to take control of your destiny and own your own business? Do you want a great brand in a rapidly growing market? Well, Beamlight Sauna is a nationwide health and wellness franchise with amazing opportunities in select markets. You can bring the power of infrared sauna and red light therapy to your community while you build a thriving business. Beamlight Sauna offers support that includes site selection, build out, even pre-launch programs and turnkey marketing so you can open your studio with a large recurring revenue member base. To learn more about business ownership and franchise opportunities in the fast-growing health and wellness space, go to beamlightsauna.com. That's BEEM lightsauna.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more. So where do you want, because you're doing a lot of high limit you'll do these videos of, you playing high limit blackjack. And I watched one where you're playing two hands and it ended up being five hands because of double downs and splits and, just some crazy money out there. Where do you want to take this? Because you have Bombshell Blackjack, which for the listeners, fun videos to watch where John will give a very attractive woman, some money to play and she doesn't know a lot about blackjack or basic strategy, but certainly enjoyable. And she's in on the joke too. So just so you know, she's in on the joke. And then you've got, The Partner, this series you've done also on YouTube. Where are we going from here? What do you want to do?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, the Bombshell Blackjack's been a lot of fun. I put together a manual that I haven't really decided. I keep telling people I'm going to put it out there. It's how to win in blackjack. And people think it's, you hear that on the surface and think it's cheesy, but I really do think I came out with a money management strategy that anyone could implement to work very well. I'm coining it the Cerasani rules. I've had this thing ready for a couple of months though, and I haven't really rolled it out yet. So I keep because I know if I'm not putting it out there for free. If I do it, I'm going to charge something, and it's just like, why is this millionaire charging me $20 for this manual? Because it's going to have some value. I'll charge you $1,000. It'll save you $20. That's why I'm like, I can guarantee you'll save at least $20 by reading this. This thing. But I'm on a 4-year win streak, man. I've only lost 4 times in the last 4 years. I got smoked last weekend at the Win because I didn't follow my own damn rules. But I've been gambling for 30 years, bro, at casinos, and 26 of them, I was back and forth like the world is probably down. And then 4 years ago, since March of 2020, I really put it together and decided to put a pen and paper to it. So I think in my perfect world, I would like to kind of just do that. Luckily, I made enough money from my exits that I don't need to really do much financially, but it would be nice and kind of be living the dream if, 10 years from now, and I'm in my 50s living off, and people are paying me to come play blackjack with me and no one's saying this is a ripoff or if it's a scam. They're saying it's worth every penny and they're enjoying it. Then I got a perfect world. If you give me an opportunity to make $500,000, but people are calling me a con artist or something, I don't want to do it, man. I don't want to do it.
I'm sure you follow Dana White because he is all about the hit and run, what he calls the hit and run in blackjack. And you said what I appreciate you said too, because basic strategy is great. You need to come off basic strategy. It depends on the count of the deck, but money management. You said money management, and that's where we all shoot ourselves in the foot.
And also just sort of your point on the count on the deck. I don't even count cards. I don't even know how to intentionally because I don't think Dana does either. Once you get high profile, even if you're not high profile, you're going to be high profile if you're betting large increments. The casino is going to catch you doing that, and you're done. Okay,
if you change your bet. If you change your bet too much.
You can't counting cards. The whole idea of counting cards is to raise your bet when the count's in your favor. Or like you said, occasionally make some moves off of basic strategy. I got news for you. The people at the casinos know those rules too. They see you doing that. They're going to catch you pretty damn fast if you're out there betting 5. If you've been betting 1,000 a hand and then all of a sudden next hand is $6,000, they're going to know why you did that. Okay. Yeah. And it'll probably take 4.2 seconds for me to get kicked out of a casino if I start doing that crap. I feel like the money management just combined with effective basic strategy. And then I have a couple of different nuances in there that I think are pretty unique that have not been talked about before. I think I am confident that people would get a lot out of it. It's one of those things, man. Or do I want to put energy into it? Because if I roll it out, I want to roll it out correctly. You know what I mean? So that's going to be called the Cerasani rules. I have this Bombshell Blackjack thing with the girls. That's a lot of fun on YouTube. I'm in talks actually with one production company that's pretty well known, as well as 2 different networks at the moment, and also Netflix possibly, about being on a kind of a reality show where 2 of them would be based on me. One of them is based on me being a character in an existing pretty popular one. So I'm kind of like toying around with some stuff right now, pal.
I love it, man. John, I love it.
Make it too big for your podcast in the future, buddy. It's going to be
that's going to get you now. I'm going to get you now. All right. 3 last questions for you. I ask every single guest.
Yeah.
One, you've already mentioned a book that's my all-time favorite for business, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
But is there one book that you would, maybe that's it. What book would you recommend to the listeners, knowing that a lot of the listeners to the show are entrepreneurs or the people that are in corporate America looking to become entrepreneurs or just improve their lives? That's why they're listening to the show. What book would you suggest that's really impacted you?
Yeah. So there's a really, really basic book on professional sales skills. It's by a guy named Jeffrey Fox. You could read this thing. If you're an academic type, you'll probably read the whole thing in an hour. If you're not, maybe 3 hours. But it's one of those books that has the short chapters and it's just there, good to refer to. It's about bringing in revenue in an organization. And some of this stuff is so damn basic, but I look at it even to today. And I'm like, did I know this because of this book, or did I already think it? And I like the book because it's called How to Become a Rainmaker by Jeffrey Fox. That's not one that's talked about very often.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really easy read. And I think that one combined with a more sophisticated read being How to Win Friends and Influence People are the two. And then just as far as mindset's concerned, I had somebody say this to me the other day. They're 42 years old when they read this book for the first time. And I'm lucky I read it when I was 23. So I just kind of thought everybody reads this, but I'm going to throw it out there because I just became aware that they don't. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's something everybody should read at relatively young age, in my opinion.
The 4 quadrants, man. The 4 quadrants.
That's right.
Second last question. So this one's a little different, but you have lived, I mean, you're still young in my eyes. So you've lived this life so far. You're going to live an amazing life. You're going to be on TV, do all these crazy things. At the end of your life, though, at some point, we all come to the end of our life. We're at your funeral. You're looking down from above, and a loved one is reading your eulogy, John, and they're only allowed 3 words. They don't have to make a phrase or anything, but just 3 descriptors that describe you, and most importantly, the impact they felt you had on the world. What 3 words do you hope that person says about you?
But I'll be remembered. I think that's something that's become very important to me lately when I lost both of my parents in the last decade. And you just look at, I think when you lose one parent at least, or anyone close to you, I guess, and you realize that the next day we're still here, and then life keeps going. You know what I mean? I'm fortunate that the cemetery where both my parents are is right by my house. So I have that reminder every day. Hey, you know what I mean? Not that it wouldn't. If you looked around my house, I got pictures of them everywhere and stuff like that. But the reality is it's not on the top of everybody's mind. And did you leave enough of an impact on this world where people are still going to talk about you 25 years from now? And, that's really been what my focal point is now. And I got news for you. Being super successful at business or being rich ain't going to do it, And people will probably remember Elon Musk, not because he's rich though, because of all the innovation that he's doing.
Change the world. Yeah.
If he was just a billionaire, they wouldn't be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
A guy who's a billionaire for owning, 1,000 car dealerships or something. It's fine. It's 40 years from now, I ain't going to remember it except his grandkids that he left all that money to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then actually, second to last question, because I want to make sure you can share where people can find you and follow you and stuff. But my last formal question is, I give you a magic wand, John, and you're allowed to wave that tonight and make one change to the world, one change the way people are, the way the world operates, just the way we live, whatever it is. If you wave that magic wand tonight, when we wake up in the morning, how is the world different according to John Cerasani?
I'm going to answer it this way just because I might answer. You could ask me that question 2 months from now. I might have a different answer, but it's relevant to just my life at the moment. The American legal system is screwed up. And I'm not talking about just the criminal side. I'm talking about the civil, really more for the civil side is what I'm referring to now, but the criminal side too. I'm sure you shouldn't have to, like, if something's wrong, like you shouldn't have to go through all this BS and there shouldn't be lawyers that get in the way of it and profit personally from complicating things. Yeah. You know what I mean? You should be able to have an arbitrator that just comes in and looks at this. No, stop. Both of you guys, stop. Here's how it should go. You know what I mean? And it's such a complex system, man. unnecessarily, bro.
Yeah.
I look at, dude, I had a funny reel that I made. I never ended up posting it because I don't want people to think I'm being political, but like, you know, the lawmakers come and reform stuff, healthcare reform a few years back with Obamacare and everything else. And now they're coming to the drug companies and, whatever the hell it is, or whatever. You know who needs to be reformed? The freaking legal system.
Legal system.
The lawmakers need to reform the lawmaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I'll
you're in the franchise space. That's no, you probably understand exactly what I'm freaking saying.
crazy. The legal bills are crazy over nothing. I'll share. I'll just share with you, like, share with the audience too. Like, I got divorced back in 2012, I think. Our entire, not the settlement, but the actual legal fees for my divorce was $800 because we went to a mediator. And now I spent a lot more money with a mediator to do what you just said. Let's get in a room and figure this out with somebody that's impartial, that doesn't make more money for us having to work through this. And it was the best. As we have we still co-parent. I mean, our kids are grown, but I have a great relationship with her. I think because we didn't lawyer up and like, all right, let's go. And then the only people that end up with the money at the end of the day are the lawyers, So it was.
How long were you married for?
19 years.
Oh, wow. That's very impressive that you did that, Roger. See, I did that too, but I was married for like 2 and we both were very comfortable with getting divorced. Oh, we screwed up. Let's get divorced. So we did. It wasn't $800. It was like 5. We just hired the same. It wasn't even a mediator. It was just a lawyer. And then we hired him, and he just said, "Okay, listen, let's make it fair." We didn't have that many assets. 19 years. I can't imagine that. That is very, very admirable, my friend.
Yeah, and it set the tone for the co-parenting for the next 10 years and all that. So
good.
Yeah. All right. Hey, most important question. You're a fascinating dude, man. How can people follow you? Where do they find you? How do they be part of your journey?
So at John Cerasani on Instagram. If it doesn't pop up, put at the real John Cerasani as my backup account. I've been having trouble with hackers lately. At John Cerasani on TikTok and at John Cerasani TV on YouTube. But also just get on my email list too. I'm sick of relying on these social media platforms. So it's brutal, and it's brutal. So I'm really trying to go back old school and build my email list again. I'm doing it strictly organically. I only got about 7,000 people on it, and like you said, over 500,000 on Instagram and everywhere else following. But like those 7,000 people that actually take their time to open or to sign up for the email, now I got an actual audience, and you can look and see who's opening it, what the click rate is. I like sending out emails to 7,000 people more than posting on Instagram. Because I'll see my click rate on that freaking 7,000 will be like 85% of the people like opened it. This is cool. People replied.
How do they join that? How do they get on your list?
So on the top of my Instagram, there's a link to get on my email. But also, if you just go to 2000percentraise.com, everything's there too.
Perfect. We'll put all that in the show notes, man. Mike, our producer, so he'll put all that in there for us. Yeah,
man.
Brother, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to take you to task when when you got 15, 20 million followers and you're on TV and you're on Netflix. I'm still going to ask you to come back because you're fun.
I'm committing to being on it. If it happens, I will come on. All right.
I love it.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.